Welcome, and thanks for joining. Hey, before we get started, let me just take a minute and we've had a bunch of new subscribers and just wanted to reach out and say thank you for joining along this little journey of like-minded folks for riding and exploring. But I've had a lot of folks ask me about this motorcycle right here. What's going on? What happened? Where did it come from? And it really wasn't a planned buy. I test rode a Speed Twin probably a year and a half ago, and generally I really liked it. I did not like the color scheme. I didn't like the design of it. I certainly did not like the cheesy little tack that was TFT that was off to the side, as opposed to the older ones that had the twin tack and speedometer, kind of the retro look. But I like the bike, generally riding it and that kind of thing. So I always thought in the back of my mind, you know, maybe someday I'll look at one. And I rode the T120 that day. I test rode that, and I rode the Speedmaster. The Speedmaster was comfortable, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. The T120 was within 200 feet. I was like I had ridden it 1,000 miles. I felt very comfortable on it. The Speed Twin I liked. I didn't like the design of it, and I didn't like the way it was laid out, but I did like riding it, and it was for a 65-year-old, it was kind of my version of a crotch rocket or whatever they call them. But it was a hot little machine, and it was really cool, and I loved it, but kind of put it on the back burner for a while because I really didn't like the way it was laid out. And so fast forward a couple of years, and I saw this thing come up in Craigslist, and I didn't want to buy it, but I really liked it. Low miles over in Spokane, Washington, owned by one responsible lady. Her husband was a retired Navy guy, and we got along really well. I called him a couple of times, kind of, I don't know, it was weird, like a Triumph groupie or something like that. But I really liked it. I didn't want to buy it. I sent my friend over in Portland, Oregon, Bug Moto. I sent him the link, and I said, hey, check this out, Bug Moto. You might want to buy this, or you might want to look at this, because I know you're always looking at new bikes. But he was off on some Moto Guzzi or 660 Trident, tangent. So unfortunately, I sat there and stared at it for a long time, like a week or a week and a half. And finally, I just said, I'm going to go over and pick it up. And that's exactly what I did. So this summer, I went over and picked this thing up and had like 2,300 miles on it. I got it for half the price of a new one. And I've got 500 miles on it maybe right now, just before the weather started to get bad here in Montana. But man, it was fun. It was really, really fun. Now, I haven't done much to it. I did put the SW Motec panniers on because I just can't go anywhere without a rain jacket or an extra coat or something like that, or just even anything. So I had to have that. I don't like tank bags, but I did get this kind of smaller version of a tank bag up on front here that works good. I've got them on a couple other bikes. Kind of a plain view thing that I can carry my insurance documents in and maybe my cell phone or whatever, but it doesn't interfere with anything. But the lady that had it had a windscreen on it, but she was shorter than me. It was sloped kind of like this, and it really didn't work for me at all. So I've had a couple of these Dart Marlin windscreens, and I kind of think that it doesn't really change the retro flavor of the bike, and it still gives 60% protection on my chest for wind. So I liked it quite a bit. The only problem was, if you can see from the angle, the angle that it's at right now is the angle it needs to be at, because it's an adjustable angle. But the problem is it sits forward of the headlight, and in the evening, or even in the early morning, the reflection on the back of this windscreen is just horrible, and it's just not rideable, and certainly it's not rideable at night. So I spent $3 on Amazon, and I bought this a piece of rubber and a hose clamp and kind of basically made a visor like on a hat and kind of cut it and fit it towards the front. Maybe it looks a little off, but it works perfect. And the problem solved. I got my windscreen. It works great. The lady also put these crash bars on it. I think she had 2,400 miles on the bike or something like that. Changed the oil 3 or 4 times in that time frame. Really good people. Kind of like a lot of those things where I was buying it from her and I noticed that she was starting to gasp a little bit, and then she had to run away because she was getting out of riding, starting to break down a little bit and cry, and it was an emotional deal. I promised her I'd take care of it, and I've sent her a couple of pictures, and she's appreciative of it. Her and her husband, they're really good people. So, but you know, it's one of those things. If it's your time to get out of riding because you're not comfortable, then it is what it is. But I'm not ready yet. We're in Montana. It's the end of January. The whole country is snowed in, and here we are in Montana. It's 40 degrees. It's sunny. It's beautiful. There's no wind. Let's take this thing out riding. All right, guys. Let's do this. January in Montana. It just doesn't get any wilder than this, while the rest of the country is completely iced in. Woohoo! All right. For those of you that aren't familiar with this area, I'm located about 35 miles south of Missoula in what they call the Bitterroot Valley. And we are west of Yellowstone National Park, south of Glacier National Park. If you look up on the ridge to the west, that's the Idaho state line. And we are just on the eastern edge of the largest contiguous wilderness area in the lower 48. And for those of you that don't understand what wilderness areas are in the United States and how they're managed, it's managed as if there's only primitive travel is allowed, with a few exceptions. And there is a road that bisects the Selway Wilderness area to the north and the Frank Church Wilderness area to the south. These are two massive wilderness areas, very remote, and it's called the Magruder Corridor Trail. And it's really a road, not really a trail, but there are a lot of roads that spur off of that a little bit south and north of the wilderness areas. But it's a pretty good road to go on after the end of June when the snow's gone, if you've got something that can get on gravel or dirt roads a little bit. It's not really too technical. Obviously this time of year it's completely snowed in, but and not passable, but it's pretty freaking cool. And I haven't ridden it. I'm going to ride it this summer. I've driven it in a Land Cruiser, but it's really a lot of fun. Now, just to the north of me is the turnoff to the west of Lolo Pass, and a lot of you have heard of that area. It's about 115 miles of really awesome twisties and good paved road, and mountainous roads. It's just it's a great ride. It's pretty easy to get fatigued in 115 miles with all these curves, but it's a lot of fun, and I would encourage you to do that. Right now, Lolo Pass, it's passable, but it's snowed in, so not a good time of year in January to do it. But I'm down here in Stevensville, coming up on Stevensville right now on East Side Highway. It is the oldest incorporated town in the state of Montana, and if my memory serves me right, it was incorporated in like 1847 or 1849 or somewhere just around there. But it's a cool little town. It's where I live. And to the south of me, you go over Lost Trail Pass and you go down into Salmon, Chalice, Sun Valley, and all the other parts of the of Idaho. And if you haven't been in that area, that's a pretty cool area too. Good riding. And this is the little town of Stevensville. I don't know, a population 1,500 or something like that. Montana is a great place to ride if you like open country and not a lot of people. I've primarily focused mostly on western part of Montana. Another really cool ride, and it's highly weather dependent, is Glacier National Park has a road called, I'm fogging up here, has a road called Going to the Sun Road, and it is really awesome. They usually don't get that open until I'd say the end of June, first time of July, so you have to check with a Glacier National Park service to find out if it's open or not. But and you'll likely need some kind of a permit to get on it. And when I say a permit, I mean call in and an entry number, and I don't think there's any fee. I did it last year. And if you check my videos, I think I've got a video posted of Mrs. Flying Mule Rider standing up on the sunroof, or sticking her head through the sunroof and getting crazy, and sure as shit got pulled over by the park police, the federales there, and threatened to throw me in jail unless she got seatbelted in. So obviously that was a problem. But they let me go. Highly recommended, super cool. I mean, it's like you're in Switzerland or something and you're in the lower 48. Lots of wildlife, lots of cool stuff, man. Just easy, great riding. So I'm coming up on the south end of Stevensville, end of January, no snow on the road. I couldn't resist getting out and taking this Speed Twin out. Like I said earlier, I've only got 500 miles on it since I bought it this summer on my little impulse buy. But my gosh, I've really enjoyed it. I don't see myself touring in it, although you could, but just certainly riding in this country and in the summer usually, and you know, going on the twisties. Man, it's a lot of fun. I really have no regrets. It's a super smooth bike, and it's a blast. So listen, I'm going to finish up my ride. I've been flapping my jaws a little bit here, and got lots of fun plans this summer for riding. I'll kind of get into those later on, but if you feel so inclined, go ahead and subscribe and join in, comment, whatever. We're all these like-minded people that like to get out here in the middle of January and ride motorcycles. So thanks for joining us, guys. Adios.